We now have 1 year under our belt of using My Big Campus. We have 1 year left to get ready before students have devices. You've heard from the pilot teachers this year that your effort in getting your My Big Campus site set up and ready for your courses now will pay off great dividends once students have a device. Let's look again at the philosophy behind digital curation on My Big Campus. First, we know that how the world accesses information has changed. You'll remember the picture on the left was the card catalog that you'd find at libraries. And we don't have those anymore because we have a file system now that puts that all digitally, and you have your files organized into folders and you have them stored in different locations. There's a system, hopefully, to the way that you have your files stored, just as there was a system to the way the card catalog was stored. We are teaching students from content materials, and you probably have in your memory at least your teaching materials stored in some kind of a file cabinet. Likely, most of the materials you use when teaching students now can be found in that same file structure. Well, we're going to take this a step farther in digital curation, and this is where My Big Campus can become such a valuable tool. So in addition to taking the papers out of the file cabinet, digitizing them and having them on computer, we're now going to take that information and put it into an organizational system that's accessible to students. The big picture is this bundle that was created by a teacher here at Plainfield High School takes content that was once inaccessible to students, and really here in its digital form is still inaccessible to students, and makes it so that they can readily access that information. Now, this isn't taking away the role of a teacher. The teacher put this together and put value into the content that was here so that students could understand the information. You know, if we just made students able to access the files that we had for a particular unit, they wouldn't be able to just learn by opening the different files. The teacher's role then is to take that and organize it and give background information, and we're not going to move anytime soon to a time where My Big Campus takes over the role of the teacher completely. But if you think about the time you spend in the classroom, once students have devices, some of that time that was spent relaying information to students can now be spent in the classroom doing other things like checking for understanding and answering questions and working with students one-on-one. Please note that My Big Campus is only one of the ways PHS teachers can manage this digital content curation. There are others, but all of our students are going to be familiar with using My Big Campus. It's going to be a universal language that we speak, and so it's a really valuable resource to do that. Again, we're looking at philosophy here. In another video, we'll take a look at the process to make bundles and to make them usable. But our end result is that students learn and demonstrate understanding. And if you step back from that, before that can happen, we have to make sure that content can get delivered to students. And before that step, we have to locate resources to use to deliver that content to students. And we do that within the context of lessons that are chunked up to help students make sense of that information. And before we can provide the lessons, we take the information and put it into big units of study so that those individual lessons can support the different ideas in there. And this comes from the fact that you have a curriculum for your class to present. And so if we look, the order should come from the curriculum, which for many of us is determined by the state, but you take that curriculum and maybe working with your team, chunk that into units of study, you develop the lessons, you find the resources. And here's another place where education is changing, is that traditionally, this resource was primarily a textbook that was used to provide that content to students. And with our digital world that we're in today and the constant access to the internet and to new information and articles and thoughts, that need for the textbook to be the primary resource is really being replaced by different access. But still, that role is going to be on the teacher to determine what those resources are that are then useful to convey that to students. So using My Big Campus isn't going to really change these first two foundational points. You're still going to work with a curriculum that's determined. You're still going to take that curriculum and combine it into different units of study. Where My Big Campus can make that really useful is to then take those units of study and help you develop the lessons with resources, and you can actually use My Big Campus to access some great resources. And then take those resources and deliver them to the students, and then you can actually use that then to check for understanding from the students with something called schoolwork. So year one with My Big Campus, your goals were to work with groups, to create a bundle, and to create schoolwork so that you could see the big picture of how My Big Campus works. Year two, our goals, informal at least, are to make sure that you can see the usefulness behind My Big Campus and envision what that's going to be like once students have a device in your room, and then begin developing those materials so that when students have that device, they can access content that is organized by you and managed by you as the teacher.